I'm a fan.
And welcome to Tracking the Wolves. I'm Blake Day with NSU Athletics. The Northern State baseball team bounced back solidly after losing 4 straight to Minnesota Mankato with a 6-game winning streak, beating Winona State and Minnesota Duluth. On Wednesday, NSU beat Winona State 1-0 in Game 1 and then 11-2 in Game 2. NSU was then forced to play in Redfield this past Friday against Minnesota Duluth, and on Friday the Wolves scored 14 of their 22 runs on the day via the long ball. NSU took Game 1 8-4 and run-ruled the Bulldogs in Game 2 14-4. NSU then played Duluth on Saturday afternoon and early evening, beating the Bulldogs again 14-4 in Game 1 and then in a close, thrilling Game 3-1 in Game 2. The NSU baseball team is now on a 6-game winning streak and moves to 25-14 overall with an 18-10 conference record, putting them 5th in the conference standings as of now with 6 games left to play in the regular season. The NSU softball team fell in 2 road games versus St. Cloud State last Tuesday. The 2 teams went the distance in Game 1 for Northern's first extra inning matchup of the year, losing 3-0. NSU also lost Game 2 to the Huskies 5-1. The Wolves then bounced back, taking 3 of 4 this past weekend against the University of Sioux Falls and Southwest Minnesota State. On Friday, NSU beat Sioux Falls in both games, 3-0 in Game 1 and 2-1 in Game 2. NSU would then split games against Southwest Minnesota State on Saturday, losing Game 1 5-0, but then bouncing back to win Game 2 9-1. NSU softball finishes the year with a record of 16-28 overall and 9-19 in the NSIC. The NSU track and field team had a very busy weekend as they traveled to 3 separate meets over the weekend in Iowa. The Wolves went to the historic Drake Relays, the Grandview Classic, and the Simpson-Kip-Janvrin Open. NSU had solid marks at all 3 places, including 4 top 10 finishes at the Kip-Janvrin meet, while only sending a select group of athletes. Javelin thrower Alex Webster had a very impressive finish at Drake, as she took 13th in the meet with a throw of 135 feet 10 inches. 11 of the 12 finishers above Webster were from Division I schools. Mariah Nelson won the shot put for the Wolves at the meet, as she recorded a career best throw of 43 feet 11 3/4 inches. NSU also got a second place finish from Shakota Meyer, who had a career high toss of 41 feet 5 3/4 inches, while Brianne Jackson was 5th with a throw of 39 feet 2.5 inches. Till Olson got a pair of top 10 finishes in the hurdles, as he placed 3rd in the 110s with a career best time of 16.25. That's it for past results. We'll be right back.
NCAA championships are something special.
Filled with memories we will carry with us for the rest of our lives.
We ask that you cheer hard for your institutions.
Acting responsibly and courteously towards those around you.
In the spirit of sportsmanship, enjoy the game, and let's provide our student athletes, coaches, officials, and fellow fans the respect they deserve.
Welcome back to Tracking the Wolves. I'm Associate Athletic Director Zach Flackus. In this segment, we're going to talk about the Day of Champions. It's become known as a Northern tradition for many years. My guests today are NSU Senior Women's Administrator and Compliance Coordinator Terry Holmes. Hi, Coach. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Zach.
And Aaron Schultz. He's the new Executive Director of the United Way. How are you doing today, Aaron?
Good. How are you?
Boy, great event. Do either one of you two know what year this actually started, the Day of Champions?
I thought it was 2003 with Coach Heupel, where I think it just started out with just football, and then it expanded from football to the entire athletic department.
Well, it's turned into a great event. For those of you that don't know, the NSU Day of Champions is a 10, 11, 12-year tradition, and all of our student athletes go out in the community for a day and volunteer their time. We coordinate the project through the United Way. That's why I have Aaron here. Aaron, first let's talk a little bit about yourselves. I know you're kind of new to this project. We had Tom Agnich since the inception of this, but why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and your work with the United Way?
Yeah, it was a great project to be a part of. This is not my first stint with United Way. Originally I started with United Way out of Sioux Falls, and then from there went to the East Coast for a little bit. Then been back in Aberdeen for about 8 years, constantly involved with the United Way activities, from working on the board to also volunteering on a variety of projects. And then the opportunity to take over the executive director position came available, and been there since the first of the year. But back to the Day of Champions, boy, what a great project. To see the amount of enthusiasm the athletes had. You know, we came here at 7:30 in the morning. I was expecting to see some student athletes kind of dragging. They were all up, they were ready to go. You could see the excitement, and even talking to the athletes, talking to a few, they said that this was one of their favorite projects to work on, and one of the greatest memories that they have at NSU.
You know, we've done this for many years. We've got a couple of key sponsors. Northwestern Energy has been the one that's really helped Northern with it a lot. I know you've worked with a couple other sponsors on your side, but you're exactly right. It's something where the athletes, you know, when we first started doing this, I've been at Northern for 14 years, and I actually helped Coach Heupel with it back in the day. But when we first started doing this, everybody thought, you know what, these athletes aren't going to want to do this. How much work are you actually going to get out of them? But the way they look at it, especially when they're working with their peers, and they're going out and they see the success of these projects, because we've done it enough years now. If you go to the Capitol Theater and if you walk in their storage area, you can see the transformation that's taken place the last couple years. And you know, they've got a room full of nothing but shoes, and another one with wigs and suitcases, where they've just helped them get it all organized. And it kind of gets to be fun, where, you know, many of these athletes are requesting to go back. When we go up to Frederick every year, I know the food that they have up there is just unbelievable, the potluck they throw for these athletes, and they have a Frederick Forward type of program each year. But let's talk about some of the individual sites we went to. Coach Holmes, how many locations did we have this year?
I believe we were at 11 sites. We were in the Barnett Center for a basketball tournament, and we were at the YMCA, we were at Aspire, we were at Frederick, we were in Ipswich. You know, we were just in a number of places, and you know, it's just really a nice situation where our athletes, you know, really, like you said, they enjoy being there and they do a great job. We don't have issues with attitudes or anything like that. It's just a day they really plan to give back. And really, you also have to tip your hat to our coaches and our grad assistants, because they give up their day as well. And we send them out, you know, with the student athletes, and they work with them. And Lisa Shriver, a couple years, told me a story. She said that one of her volleyball players, you know, was a freshman and met a freshman football player at Day of Champs, and they got to, it was the first time they really spoke to one another. And she said they became fast friends, and now today they're still Facebook friends. They still communicate. They go to, you know, other events together. But it just shows that other than giving to the community, our athletes, since they're mixed with other teams, they get to know one another, and I think that's also a great experience.
You know, Aaron, as she talks about the experience of the athletes, you know, that's something that we see on a daily basis, how it impacts them. How does this impact some of the, you know, the sites that you're looking at the United Way, or how you do business the rest of the year?
Oh, it has a tremendous impact. Yesterday we had a agency directors meeting, and rehashing the last, you know, 2 months, but most of the discussion focused in on Day of Champions. You know, we've had some agencies that constantly do this each and every year. They look forward to it. They save the projects up, and they always come back amazed. I can't believe what 10 athletes can do in the amount of time that we had scheduled. One in particular story that came out was from the Ipswich Tiger Post, which is after school center. They had a variety of projects they were working on, from helping restore a ramp to cleaning. And one of the student athletes walked up and said, you know, your sign could use a little help. I'm an artist. You have some paint? And the student went up and freehand drew a sign for him. And They were just amazed by that. They had pictures of it. It was a really neat story, and almost every site has a story like that. And you know, it's one thing that we promote on our website, but really we just help coordinate a small piece of it. What the student athletes do and the coaches do is remarkable.
Well, and like I said, you know, the community gets behind and supports this. We end up with, you know, donated subs from Subway and beverage from Pepsi, and like I said, Northwestern Energy. They actually give a scholarship every year to a male and a female student athlete that participate in the Day of Champions. So Mike Williams and his staff at Northwestern Energy do a great job of getting behind this and supporting it. Let's talk a little bit about some of the individual projects. I know we've got some different video of our coaches and athletes working down on. What's a typical project that they handled, say at the Boys and Girls Club or at the United Way office?
Yeah, there's no typical project. What we found, everything from painting an office, and then here they're actually waxing and stripping the floors at the YMCA Child Care Center, the Youth Development Center. Another project was building furniture, and you know, these are things that most people don't get the opportunity to participate in, to work with, and I think a lot of people actually had a lot of fun when you start working with the big tools that
Yeah.
work out there as well. So,
well, and I know in the past we've gone up to the New Beginnings Center, and they actually have the residents there while our athletes are working, and so they have volunteered in the past, and the residents, you know, the New Beginnings Center, there's a lot of these kids that really don't have a lot, and so for them to get to see what it takes to go to college and realize, you know what, anybody can go to college. This isn't something that's for some, you know, an elite type of person, especially at a Northern State University or a Presentation College, you know, the universities we have in the Midwest. So it's just a great experience for the people that receive some of these benefits to be able to see what goes on. Doesn't hurt to have some basketball players when you can get some 8-foot tall taping and nobody's on a ladder, I see. But
and a little earlier they had the student athletes redoing the pavers out in front of Roncalli High School. And what was fun to see about that is Father Joe was typically right over top of them, telling them exactly what to do, and you know, he had those boys moving quickly, and so that was fun to see. This is at Boys and Girls Club. You know, the Boys and Girls Club see 180 kids each and every day. They're ramping up they expect 240 kids in their summer program. They have a fleet of vans, and you know, just having a couple kids of my own, I know what kind of damage they can do over the course of a weekend. I couldn't imagine what 180 kids each and every day can do to a facility. So a lot of TLC that the students provided there.
And you know, and just when you get that bulk labor, when you've got people that can rearrange, lift, go through stocking. I know at the Capitol Theater, at the New Beginnings Center, at the Boys and Girls Club, they were doing a lot of moving. This is a great opportunity for manual labor. You've got a 18 to 20-year-old student athlete, you know, a good 6 hours of moving, they can get a lot of work done.
Yeah, one of the comments that was made the other day too is that we don't typically think about the fact when we're moving things, we typically now think of, okay, 2 people need to lift this box up. You get some of those bigger athletes there, they just pick it up in 1 or 2 hands, and they're taking it out pretty easily, and obviously they're moving, looks like a fridge there fairly easily. So.
Well, and I know when I went to the Capitol Theater, Terrell Walker, he's a running back from Pierre for us, and he ended up moving boxes and hauling stuff all day long, and then as we were getting ready to leave, they had a little tour that we took of the Capitol Theater and went downstairs, and he ends up playing the piano for a while. So it's nice to see some of the other talents that some of our student athletes got. Terry, you've been associated with this for several years. What's the process like to get involved? If there's someone out in the community that has a project, should they be getting a hold of Aaron? Should they get a hold of you, or as we look for next year's projects?
Well, I think they get a hold of United Way first and foremost. We're also looking for projects for fall, because one of the things that we have, our spring athletes, our baseball players, softball and track athletes don't take part in this Day of Champions because they're all playing. And so in the fall, those student athletes we're going to be looking for projects. Last year, baseball went out to Spurs, and they went to Frederick. Softball went to the Aberdeen Community Theater, and our track team was at a project all day at the Aberdeen Civic Arena. So we're contacting United Way, because in the fall we're looking for projects for soccer, baseball, softball, and track. So that'll be approximately 180 athletes.
Wow.
That we're looking for projects for. Well, baseball has 54, by themselves. So you just get a hold of the United Way, and then they make the decision if it's something nonprofit that that they want us to be part of, and then we'll work together and we'll get our athletes assigned on that particular day. So that's get a hold of Aaron or Jackie Whitlock, and then they'll get a hold of us.
And it's just such a great experience. The theme of Division II athletics is I choose. And this is something that our student athletes have come to expect. They know that every year, we're going to do several community service projects, but this is just one of the major ones. I know we received an award not only in our conference, but I believe we were recognized nationally for the work that's just been done. I think it was the 10-year anniversary, and they just kept moving it forward. But with that, I'm going to let you two run. I appreciate you coming in today and talking about the NSU Day of Champions. I'm Zach Flockus, and my guests were Aaron Schultz, the Executive Director of the United Way, and NSU's Senior Women's Administrator, Terry Holmes. We'll be back after this.
We know you want family-friendly sporting events.
Sporting events where you can be comfortable
and entertained in a positive environment. Watching great individuals and teams compete.
With commitment, effort, and good sportsmanship. That's what the Division II Game Environment Initiative is about.
Be a part of the excitement and find out why. These student athletes say with pride,
I chose
Division II.
And welcome back to Tracking the Wolves. Continuing talking about Day of Champions, joining us today from the Wolves football team is Jared Jacobson. So Jared, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And before we continue on with talking about what Terry was talking about, let's just kind of introduce yourself to everybody, for all our viewers. Hometown, class, major, career plans at this point, if you know those.
Well, I'm from Rapid City, South Dakota. Graduated from St. Thomas More High School. Class of 2010 from high school. I redshirted my first year on campus because of football. So I'll actually graduate in 5 years, May of 2015. I have a professional accounting degree is what I'll end up with. And that actually requires 150 credits to begin with. So it kind of works together, having the 5 years of football to be able to get my degree done in 5 years, and so that kind of works well. As of right now, there's no job offers on the line, but I had an internship with Eide Bailey here in Aberdeen this last semester. Had a really good experience with that, and hopefully be looking down the line and when I graduate doing a job with public accounting and maybe filing people's taxes.
Very nice. I mean, obviously a great career. And we know Eide Bailey, we know we have a number of students who are able to do some internships with them, and it's just a quality experience for doing that. So, I mean, that's great. As we kind of talk more about the Day of Champions, obviously it's a day to give back to the community. It started in 2002, so we're running on 13 years or so of this event. And basically it's, hey, get out, community service projects, time for the student athletes and coaches to really give back. Obviously the community is so supportive of NSU and of NSU athletics. Just talk about, from a personal standpoint from you, what it really means to be able to give.
It really means a lot because, like you said, we have one of the greatest community bases with our fans. We always have support at every single game. So it really just means a lot for me to be able to give back to them for what they do for us. You look at a lot of our donors for scholarships, and they're the ones that are helping us get through college. They're giving us money. So to be able to just do one morning of painting walls or doing this or that, it's really not that big of a deal. And for me, I look forward to it, and it's a great opportunity to kind of build that relationship with surrounding communities and just communities in Aberdeen with companies and be able to help them out.
No, I mean, it's perfectly put. As we kind of talk about the places, we've got a number of them here that we do help out. We've got Safe Harbor, the Frederick Forward, United Way, New Beginnings, the Pink Ladies Relay for Life, Aspire, Aberdeen Community Theater, Roncalli High School, the Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA, and then the Ipswich Tiger Post. I mean, we've got a number of people that we're able to help with that. Talk about where you were at this year. Obviously, this is your 4th year of doing it, so maybe talk about some other places you've done the last 3 years doing it as well.
This year I went to United Way, and our main job there was to paint a couple of rooms for them, but then we also had to shampoo some carpets and do a couple other cleaning things around there. Really nothing too strenuous, but like I said, it's a great opportunity to be able to help people out with one morning where it's work that if it's just 1 or 2 other people, they would have to spend probably 2 or 3 days working on it. So it really just helps them out. Last year I went to the Tiger Post in Ipswich, and we had to once again kind of paint walls, just kind of do some housekeeping work around there. The year before I went to Ipswich, but we actually worked on the golf course, and we had to basically build mixed cement and put it into little square blocks, and so when they have their yard markers, they can take them in and out in the winter and put them into the cement when it's season and take them out and store them in the winter. And then my first year I went to Safe Harbor, and basically that was a lot of organizing clothes, folding clothes, and I think we put up some shelves too, if I remember right.
Okay. Well, anytime anybody ever mentions Ipswich, I always think that maybe you're going to have to go out like the home of Tom Sawyer and like maybe polish the statue of him out there in Ipswich, but glad they're not making you do that. Basically, let's kind of turn the page a little bit, talk a little bit about football as we wrap things up here for you guys. Obviously, you're on the football team, and I missed this question. We always ask, kind of a fun random fact about our athletes on here, or maybe a game day superstition. So, do you have one for the?
Probably for game day superstition. Basically, when I'm putting on my uniform and different things like that, I like to do it the same way. Basically, put on my girdle, my pants, get all that put on. Followed by my socks, and then from there I'll put on my undershirt or anything like that. So I'd say my biggest superstition is just the way that I put on my uniform, and kind of try and do that the same way every game.
All right, well, very nice. Let's just kind of wrap it up here. Obviously, I think the Day of Champions is kind of I don't want to say a signal as we get kind of towards the end of the semester. We've still got a little baseball, softball, and track left. Softball just wrapped up this past weekend. A little baseball left. A little track left as well. For you guys, for football, just kind of talk about what we're looking at here summer-wise, what are your summer plans as we head into the fall, and then we'll kind of wrap it up on that. We'll let you get finished up with your semester.
We just finished up, like you said, this spring ball about a couple weeks ago. So this last couple weeks we had a max out week with our lifting, and then this week and next week we can't officially have any contact. It's kind of like dead weeks because of finals. But we'll have athletes in the weight room and just kind of get lifts in on our own. And looking forward to this summer. I'll be around. Coaches really put an emphasis into being around for the summer. I know the past years we've had between 50 and 60 guys, which is probably up there with the most in the conference. So obviously having more guys here in the summer, we can work together and do things like that. The more it'll benefit us. But we do lifting, I believe, 3 times a week. We do some sort of running, whether it's agility or conditioning, 3 times a week also, so we'll double up there one day or so. And then we'll also do like a skelly type thing where we can get our quarterbacks, receivers, defensive backs, linebackers kind of feeling things out and still playing football amongst all the running and things that we do there. So it's a good summer program, and like I said, the more guys that we can have here, the more that it benefits us going into the season.
Absolutely. Last summer I got caught in the crosshairs a little bit there with the lifting. Obviously, a great turnout. I failed to make it to the conditioning, the running and conditioning, but I'll work on that this summer with you guys. But thank you again for joining us today. Obviously, the Day of Champions is a great event, and obviously you really understand the importance of giving back. So we thank you for coming on and chatting with about that, and good luck as we head into the summer and into the fall.
Thank you very much.
And we'll be right back with upcoming events.
NCAA championships are something special.
Filled with memories we will carry with us for the rest of our lives.
We ask that you cheer hard for your institutions.
Acting responsibly and courteously towards those around you.
In the spirit of sportsmanship, enjoy the game, and let's provide our student athletes, coaches, officials, and fellow fans the respect they deserve.
And welcome back to Tracking the Wolves. Colton Boucher was selected as the NSIC Pitcher of the Week this past week, as he made 2 appearances during the week for Northern State, picking up a complete game win and a save for the Wolves. Boucher was magnificent in his win over Winona State as he recorded his 6th complete game of the year and won his 5th consecutive start, moving to 6-2 on the year. Against Minnesota Duluth, Boucher pitched the last 2 innings of the game to pick up his 2nd save of the season, preserving the Northern sweep. Northern State's Lindsey Hubler from Wolves softball and Clayton Nutting from Wolves baseball have been named as the Qdoba Scholar Athletes of the Week for their academic and athletic efforts over the past week. Hubler was a standout for the Wolves in her final 6 games of her career, as she went 7 of 16 from the plate and racked up 3 extra base hits. Hubler homered for the 7th time of the season against the University of Sioux Falls and recorded 2 doubles against St. Cloud State and SMSU. In the Wolves' 3 wins over the weekend, Lindsey scored a run in each game. Clayton Nutting helped lead the Wolves to a 6-game sweep over the last week with wins over Winona State and Minnesota Duluth. Clayton hit .500 from the plate with 3 extra base hits, recording 9 runs scored and 6 RBI over the week with a home run and 2 doubles. He recorded at least 1 hit in each of the 6 games and a run scored in 4 of the 6 games. For upcoming events, the NSU baseball team will finish up their regular season playing the University of Mary this Wednesday for a doubleheader at Fossum Field beginning at 1 p.m., weather permitting. The Wolves will then head to Southwest Minnesota State this weekend for a doubleheader on Friday and Saturday, doubleheaders beginning at 1 o'clock both days. The NSU baseball team will then make its NSIC baseball tournament debut. That's next week, so be on the lookout for game times for that. The NSU track and field team will be at the conference outdoor meet next week in Winona, Minnesota. The dates of the meet are May 9th and 10th. For up-to-date information, schedules, results, and official Nike gear of NSU Athletics, be sure to head to our website at northernstatewolves.com and be sure to follow us on Twitter at Wolves Athletics. Thanks for watching today, and go Wolves!